let's just start like that. Let me just quickly grab my laptop. I just have a few notes that I've written down. I'm gonna use this. There we go. Bro, it's been a while. I know, it's been like 4 months. Last time was August, now it's December. Jeez, that's freaking wild. This is like way before I even did my internship. I think the video before I made after this was the Bolt video. That was interesting. That was a cool experience. You know what, let's just start right on that. I have a few things to talk about this video, which is internship, the whole internship search, what happened, and one of the subsets of those is Bolt and others. School, my sprints, trading and automation, something called super menu, which we'll talk about, and plans for 2021. So I pretty much culminated the end of this year in a very, very interesting set of experiences. The last video I made was in August, now it's December. It's literally a few days away from the new year. It's December 20th, a few days from Christmas, and then a few days from that after that is going to be New Year. And what's interesting is that the place I was at last year, exactly 1 year from today. Hold up, I'm hearing the alarm. I think it's outside. Listen, okay? The reason why I'm paranoid about this alarm is because last time I heard this alarm, like about a month ago, and I was more, like, I don't know what you would call this, I was more dismissive of it. The freaking building was on fire. So, at that time, what happened was, when the alarm was on at that time, my alarm over here is also on. So that's why the first thing that you saw me do is to check if my unit alarm was on, which would mean like there's an actual proper fire, or like there's a fire alarm. That's a whole other story. I'm probably not going to talk about it because it's not like that big of an issue. Maybe I'll talk about it here and there, but just general stories that the building got set on fire. The electrical panels got completely destroyed. I was like homeless for like 1-2 days, and then there was no internet for like weeks. Just got internet recently, like a few weeks ago, through somehow we were lucky to have like Rogers cables already in the building because that was our previous provider, and we ended up getting like Rogers routers that I bought like individually. And what happened was, for like 4 or 5 weeks, I wasn't able to like zone in with school because everything was so messed up. I even got like max extra data, and that still wasn't enough. But anyways, let's go back to what we were talking about. This shit's loud, bro. For some reason, I feel like it's outside my unit. I might resume after this friggin' stops, so I'm just gonna pause this because I don't want to like there to be like some like ringing sound while I'm talking. As soon as I stop it, it stopped. So, what was I talking about? What was I talking about? Internships, right? Internships? Okay, so basically I'll just start at internships. basically what happened was, after I made that video, I decided that I was going to just like go all in with job searching, because I was like, you know what? I made this sudden realization that although I had like a few months off, I think I talked about this. Although I had a few months off, I could just like do an internship, and that like consumed my mind. Like for like 3 whole months, bro, consumed me. Like I was like, whoa. Like I looking back, like whoa, that consumed the fuck out of me. And the main reasons why I did it was because I noticed that if I was able to get an internship, it was actually going to be so significant in the amount of experience that I could have gotten. I could have learned a lot, a lot of skills. I could have just had experience when applying to an actual job. In general, I could have met people. Everything when it comes to leverage that I talked about back then existed there. And I still think that it does exist there. But I'm here to tell you that I failed. I failed in my job search. That's not how I should say it. I failed in my internship search for this winter. And I'm feeling it, you know? Like I don't mind feeling it. I'm not gonna give up, obviously. It's just a bump in the road. So let's talk about Bolt before we talk about why the internship in general didn't work. Bolt's like literally was probably the luckiest shit that's ever happened to me, because they were the first people I contacted, and off the first contact I ended up getting an interview. I got to the final round, and the final round, looking back, it was horrible because I know so much more about like software engineering and just I don't know, just the software development lifecycle in general, and like people's tech stacks, what companies, what they use, all that stuff. When I was talking about like my projects and what I was doing, like I just sounded very, very incompetent. And I straight up was. Even now, I feel like I'm still incompetent. And I did not end up getting the Bolt job. If you want to know about me and Bolt and all that, just literally look at my last video and you'll see like what I'm talking about when I mean by Bolt. I literally had a video called Message to the Bolt Team. And that was a pretty cool video. I actually liked it. There's a lot I could have done with that, but I didn't. I just made it pretty simple, and I did it. And I still remember, like I was like on the fence of whether I should have done it or not. And dude, like it was crazy because that video got posted to like LinkedIn, Twitter. Like the CEO of Bolt, like Ryan Breslow, ended up reposting it. Literally everyone freaking saw it. It made like a really, really crazy impact. And what I started just realizing, just by doing that, was it was good that it happened off the first time, because it made me realize that the way in which you approach people doesn't have to be the traditional way. That you don't have to submit a resume, because the whole time they did not have my resume. Take that shit in. The whole fucking time, every single step of the internship, application process, they did not have my resume, which is crazy. So you don't have to submit a resume. If you're creative with it, you can do a lot. And that really, really like drove home. That point got driven home. I asked the engineering manager why I couldn't get in, or sorry, not why I didn't get in. He basically was trying to talk about, he pretty much alluded to the fact that I was just inexperienced and I needed more experience. And you know what? 100% agree. That interview was complete trash. I was complete trash. Stuff I did to show my progress was complete trash, and it still is. So that's the thing that I wanted to talk about as well. Just to like conclude on the talk about my internship search, I pretty much after Bolt just decided to like dedicate a few weeks to just like focus on like my projects or learning a bunch of stuff and then applying. But then the problem was that like I couldn't even do that because of school. Like school just like came so fast, because I ignored like the first month and a half of school just for Bolt. I just was studying my ass off for the coding interview. I was preparing as much as I could for one fucking interview, one final round interview, the phone screen, all of it. Like I was really invested into this company, and when it didn't end up working out, I didn't feel like demotivated. I just like was like I just couldn't like do anything at that moment. But then even during that moment, I couldn't do it regardless because of school. Like school, all of a sudden, like all the deadlines I was delaying and stuff, all of a sudden just hit me like a train. Like I was like, fuck, I gotta do all this shit in a row. I gotta do midterms. I gotta like finish all this, and it literally did not stop until the end of school, because after midterms, there was a bunch of projects that were due. There was a bunch of assignments that were due. I had like a project in like 4 different courses, and after projects, then there was exams. So my internship search was very half-assed. I couldn't like do what I wanted, which was like I came up with a proper plan of approaching people. I'm not gonna talk about it in depth. Point was is that all I would do is I would try to make sure I incrementally get myself known in the company by meeting different people, and then eventually shooting the shot. But instead, what I did was I just like emailed people and I just wrote them one paragraph of like why I should work at their company. None of it worked. There was one person from Rose Rocket called Alex, which decided to say that we don't hire interns, but like, I don't mind talking on the phone with you. And I ended up talking with him. He was a pretty cool guy, really interesting. And like just at that moment, I just started realizing, and this is the whole thing I got from the internship, which was started realizing that the way in which I was doing this was not how I naturally do things. I do not try to finesse my way into an internship, because that's essentially what I was doing and what everyone else is doing. They try to make their resumes look as good as possible. They try to like make their projects look as good as possible. They try to do a bunch of leak code, memorize a bunch of shit in order to like pass the interview. That is not how I do shit. I'm a very foundational guy. I try to understand how the whole system works and then reverse engineer it. Sorry, not reverse engineer it. Reverse engineering is what I was doing in the first one. I try to figure out how the whole system works, and I try to just immerse myself in it so that I just naturally understand how shit works. I don't have to grind on a leak code or on an interview book in order to understand how to do system design. I don't have to grind on leak code in order to understand how to do algorithms, data structures. Leak code's good practice, but I don't have to like memorize it. I don't have to like, like it just didn't make sense to me to just do this whole process. Doing something in terms of marketing myself, doing something with both the way in which I did it, with in terms of like Twitter and the way in which I did that, was something that I would normally do, assuming that I had the skills. And that's what I made the realization of, which was the fact that I am not a good software engineer yet. I probably know how to solve problems, right? I probably am a problem solver, but I just do not have the experience with the tools that are provided in software engineering. I am not able to just look at a problem and know exactly how to solve that problem in software engineering specifically. If it's like a psychological problem, if it's like something here, if it's a business problem, probably I could solve it. But when it comes to actual software engineering, I cannot do that. And I cannot do that good. I cannot confidently tell you that I can look at a system and just completely re-engineer the entire system. Can't do it, or else I would be working full time. And I know that this is not the way in which most people think about this, but this is how I think about it. Like I should be thinking about this very fundamentally, starting off with how systems just work at the most abstract level, understanding the different systems, right? Understanding different architectures, like microservices, monoliths, distributed, all that shit. And then from there, going deeper and deeper and under the hood, until you just understand everything there is to understand about the entire field. And the moment you do that, it just like enhances your ability to problem solve like crazy in that field, even if you had no experience. So essentially what I've been trying to get at was I was just not a good software engineer, and I noticed that what I have to do for next time is that I have to pretty much work on actual big scale projects and understand the different ways in which people solve problems in software engineering. So for example, I did not know what design patterns were. I did not know how they were used and why they were used. I didn't understand the solid principles and the reasons as to why you should have clean code and the reason why you should have modular code, the reason why you should have all of those acronyms. Why, for example, everything must have like one function. One class should have one function. You know, every variable should do, sorry, not one variable. Every function should do one thing. Every class should do one thing. I didn't understand the inversion principle. Basically, there's so many things that I was just oblivious to. And like data structures as well was another thing I was oblivious to. And these are like the nodes of information that I needed to understand to fundamentally solve these problems. I didn't understand anything about architecture. This is what I'm trying to say. Like I didn't know anything about that, and now I know how to do it. So included in this whole concept of being able to be a proper engineer comes front-end development as well. I didn't know shit about front-end development. I didn't know shit about any fucking technology or framework, let alone frameworks for the language that I'm good at, like Python. Like I didn't know any frameworks for Python, like Django or like Flask or some shit like that. None of them. So I wasn't even able to be an effective engineer, regardless. So that's what I started realizing that I have to start doing. I have to start understanding how to make end-to-end applications from the ground up. And once I'm able to do that consistently over and over and over and over and over again, and I start incrementally increasing the complexity of the application, that's when I'll be able to comfortably go into a company and just be like, yo, I can actually solve your problems. No problems whatsoever on my end. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much the thing I got from the internship. Let's move on. When school started, which was at the same time that I was searching for my internship, I came with the idea that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this very, very half-ass. I'm going to just not go to any lectures and then like record all them and then just look at all the lectures right before the midterm, right before the exam, right before the assignment, grind my ass off and then just kill it. And I would expect to get like 70s. I ended up not doing that. I ended up actually putting more effort into school than I thought because I'm a perfectionist, especially when I would have projects. Like, wow. And I ended up doing pretty well on all of them. So my GPA, like pretty much every single semester ever since my year off, has been a 4.0, which is pretty insane. But there's a lot of things that I did learn in school that was very, very useful. Like one of the most important courses, like obviously it was a very easy course in my school, but one of the most important courses that I thought was relatable to me was project management. Understanding how to like just, there's so much there, oh my god, holy shit. Understanding not just how to manage projects, like what the fuck does that even mean? It's basically understanding how to take a vision, a set of requirements that people want and turning it into reality. Being able to manage that whole process. It's insane. It's insane how much work goes into it, and it's insane how much wisdom was distilled in that course, into a few slides in that course. So that's what I have to retouch upon because I didn't really I took it face value just to do well on the exam. So if I were to do this again, if I actually had time, I would just immerse myself deep into this, just like I talked about before. I would understand foundationally how this worked. Understand the history, look at all the problems with it, and then just try to contemplate on my own before I look at the answers, etc., etc., etc. That was school. I finished my exams a week ago, and things went well. It was nothing, no complaints whatsoever. There was one course that I really, really struggled with, but pretty much ever since then, I have no more exams for the rest of the uni. Next semester is going to just be a capstone project, which I'm most likely going to finish in January. And I'll be free to just transition as much as I want. And we'll talk about that. The last thing I mentioned in the video before my internship, in the previous video, was the MVS, my minimum viable systems, which was the fact that I wanted to take all my systems and take the essentials out of every single system and put it into one overall system. And I think I was headed in the right direction here when I did that. This is the problem. I wasn't able to finish as much as I wanted to in the MVS. In fact, I wasn't able to finish a lot at all with respect to 4 months ago when I actually laid out the MVS. And it's mostly because of school, internships, etc. that distracted me. And what I think the mistake that I made here was that I didn't price in all of these foreign elements that were going to come in. They're not even foreign elements. I just didn't price in all these dedications that I was going to have and put them into the sprint. And I thought that was really, really important. Like, I think that's so important that I still have not incorporated. You see, MVS is the good first step because it takes all these individual sprints and it's like, okay, you know what? Because it's the beginning, let's first take the essentials out of every single sprint and put them all into one sprint, establish them, and then move on. Because I had the pressure of getting a job, I had to focus on internships first before I focused on the MVS. And because I had to focus on school, because it was my last semester, I had to do that too. So that was the main problem, and so my goal for next time is to just make sure that I'm able to structure my sprints such that it incorporates everything that I'm doing, so that it's just so much easier to allocate time. And that's most likely what I'm going to do. I haven't really thought about it other than that. Then comes the last three things, which is trading and automation, super menu, and plans for 2021. And these are big topics because let's talk about super menu first, actually, because this was a peak and then it went down, and I don't think it's going to be continued any longer. But the thing I want to say about this is a few months ago, I was recently approached. I wasn't even approached. I was talking to one of my good friends, Dillian Verma. I'll show him a picture like right here. Really cool dude. Really, really cool dude. He's he's been one of my friends from high school, and I recently got in touch with him again, and we just like have like this very, very like similar uh, wavelength that we're on in terms of just like a lot of things. And so when it came to business, he basically proposed to me this idea of basically trying to visualize what you see on a menu using augmented reality. And not only that, it's basically making your menus touchless and just adding a whole different layer to your restaurant experience, especially if you don't know anything on that menu. And you can integrate a bunch of things on top of it, which is like reviews, or even like having like food reviews, like specific food reviews, not reviews of restaurants, but just specific food reviews. And the main thing here was the business side of this, because like there was a value proposition, which is the fact that people needed to visualize how their food was and all that. But the craziest part was the potential of this business, which was the fact that it could have been $1 billion business. And the reason how I came to that number was because I thought of how big the AR industry is going to turn into. And I also thought about how big the current food industry, restaurant industry currently even is right now in the United States. It's about almost $1 trillion. And let's assume we took a percentage-based business model where we would charge a portion of people's sales if they were to pay through our app. Pretty much what we calculated was, even if we were to capture 1% of that and charge 1% to restaurants, 1% of the market share, and we charge 1%, that would still be worth $1 billion business every year. Just to walk you through the process, because I don't know if I was clear enough on the idea, but basically this is what you would experience. You'd walk into a restaurant, and instead of picking up a menu, or in the beginning, instead of, if you have a menu, all you would do is you take your phone out, scan the QR code, and automatically the restaurant menu would appear on your phone. And the good thing about this is that obviously like the items can be placed in specific ways to like exactly how the restaurant wants it. They could do a bunch of split testing, a bunch of stuff like that. And the good thing is that there's a central hub for all of your restaurant needs. And not only that, you actually have this way of visualizing the food that you're gonna eat. And this is good because this allows you to discover new food. A bunch of different things can be added on top of it. The whole point is that it gives people this a way of seeing their food. Gives a different experience to your restaurant, to the rest. It adds another layer to the restaurant experience. So you do that, you pretty much point your phone to the table, and it shows the AR model. You can turn it around, do a bunch of shit, zoom in, and then you can order straight through the app. We thought it was a pretty good idea. The reason why it was such a crazy good idea was because of its ability to scale. We realized that if we were able to have users upload the images themselves, the 3D objects themselves, we would pretty much collect the biggest 3D repository of food in the world. And we can pretty much sell that later on to like DoorDash, Uber Eats, etc., etc., etc. Even non-related food companies, and we can just be making like a shitload of money from that. And that's the worst case. That's the worst case scenario. Assuming that we don't charge restaurants, assuming we don't do a subscription model, assuming we don't even have ads, we pretty much will just have a shitload of 3D objects that we can rent out. But we can do so many things on top of that. That's the whole point of this. So then we went and we tried to like reach out to a few people. We reached out to a guy named Alper, who is the owner of QReal.io. He's like he's at the top of this whole space when it comes to 3D objects. And he pretty much told us, and it made a lot of sense, that 3D objects, the creation of 3D objects have a trade-off when it comes to the quality with scale. And because we were planning on scaling with users uploading their own photos, or their own 3D objects, we wouldn't get as high of a quality of 3D objects themselves. And that's not good, because just statistically, if you were to look at research, people would rather have good quality images or good quality objects or whatever, because if you even have a bad quality image, it will just ruin everything else. Like there's a study about how like you had like I think this is in the book Thinking Fast and Slow, where they pretty much sold a set of dishes that were like really, really like good premium quality, but one of the dishes, like 8 dishes, so one of the 8 dishes, like plate, let's say, were like broken, or like something was like messed up about it, and it literally would bring the whole value, the perceived value of the entire dish down. And that's pretty much, I think, what he was trying to explain to us. And when we realized that, we're like, okay, shit, we don't have enough technology. The technology's not there yet for every person to upload their 3D models. It's not as scalable if we were to do it ourselves. At that point, if we were to do it ourselves, the overhead would be really high. We have to pay a lot of money for these objects, etc., etc., etc. And this guy actually started off in the food business and then moved on to like just normal 3D objects. So that's why we realized, okay, you know what, like this might not be necessarily be like an idea for now to implement. But we shelved it. And now you're hearing about it. Most likely by the time like anyone like that really matters hears about this, this shit might have already been invented. Or it might be like a few years down the line. But most likely, like, no one's hearing about this, so I thought it was okay to talk about this. So that happened, but that failed, pretty much. We still got some really, really interesting plans, which in the future, we got some interesting plans in terms of productivity, etc., stuff like that. One of the things that I thought was really interesting while I was wrapping up the year was the realization that I had about portfolio management, portfolio diversification when it came to my trading method. So as you guys know, maybe you don't, maybe I didn't mention it, but I used to trade a lot when I was like grade 12, all the way till last year. I would just be trading manually, just trading all types of markets, whether it be Forex, crypto, stocks, etc. I had a lot of like good moments where I would make a lot of money, but the problem was that the net over the long term, I would always lose money. And so I came up with this strategy that I backtested that was pretty promising. And I never was able to see how promising it was because I never automated it. And I ended up automating it like 2 years ago in terms of backtesting. The backtesting of it was automated, but I was never able to automate the actual trading, like the live trading aspect of things. Because I made this new breakthrough in portfolio management, portfolio diversification in terms of the strategy, I started realizing how insane this strategy actually could be in the future. The returns on this could be absolutely insane. It could be freaking crazy. And I just was very, very interested in just trying to validate it in a way which I could just like say like, okay, this does not actually work. Because I really did not think that I came across like such a good strategy. And that's what I've been working on the last like few months. That's what I've been thinking about. There's like 4 things that I realized that I can add on top of the strategy, just other than the simple rules, that would like transform everything. But I have to automate it. That's the difference. So once I actually get all that stuff done, I'll probably make a separate video on that. So I just wanted to like, prime anyone that's listening to this in the beginning to like know about how like I literally ended up successfully automating my trades. Currently right now it's like running on its own, and I'm just doing a bunch of R&D right now, and the future seems very, very bright, bro. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's very, very bright. Like, just to like give you just a little perspective, I can literally make an average of 100% profit every single year. That's all I'm gonna say. So let's literally just wrap this up. Plans for 2021. The 3 questions I wrote down was that I most likely what might be on my mind of what I was thinking about, or what might be on people's mind is, because you don't have an internship, how you're gonna make money. Now that you're also done school, and also you're living in Toronto, so you have a shitload of expenses. When am I gonna apply for jobs would probably be the next question if I said I'm gonna apply for jobs. And then finally, other than that, what are just the plans overall in the future? So let's just put this over here and let's just wrap up with that. So when it comes to how I'm gonna make money, thankfully, because of COVID and because I was tutoring before, I've been able to get the CRB payments from the CRA. The good thing about this is because although I'm still like trying to like find new students, I'm not trying to like go all into tutoring. I'm trying to like apply for jobs mostly. And as you can see, like the job thing didn't work. And obviously I've been posting ads on Kijiji for the rate that I'm at the moment. No one's responding, so like there's nothing I could do. And so far, the payments that I've been getting from the CRB are pretty good for now. That's the thing that's keeping me afloat right now, because if I did not get those payments, I would force myself to go work in a job, like a shitty job. I'd force myself to go back to tutoring maybe. I'd force myself to do a bunch of shit. And what I'm realizing now is, in terms of making money, I'm almost making a gamble within these next few months. It's not a gamble because I'm confident in my own ability, but I'm making a gamble in the sense that I'm going to start working, and this is pretty much answering all 3 questions at once. This is coming just right off the head. I haven't finalized this. This is just what I think. Because I'm working currently on my trading strategy and I'm automating it, and things are looking really, really good because I just automated it and it's trading live. I personally think that with enough time, effort, research, I will be able to make a very profitable strategy. Even if the one right now that I think is 100% is not actually profitable because I find out something about it. I think I'll be able to make a profitable strategy because I'll be learning everything there is about quantitative finance within these next few months. I'll literally have the same level of education as these PhD mans in quantitative finance. Like, I'm actually gonna go that deep. The math is gonna be so freaking rigorous, but I'm still gonna go into it deep. Not only that, I'm also gonna combine all of this with this whole contemplation framework that I usually have. So I'm going to be able to probably even come up with newer ideas than what's already out there. With that being said, I possibly could sustain myself using this strategy in the next 6 months. So 6 months after this, I'll most likely be able to sustain myself using this trading strategy. I'll be able to literally make money off capital gains, is my hope. It's not guaranteed. It's just something that I'm working on because I believe in it. But I'm not going all into that because I know, that this statistics is against me, right? Like, there's nobody that's making the returns that I'm making hypothetically at the moment. So I have to understand this whole concept of the regression to the mean, and about how maybe this is just a very, very, it's a very unique moment. It's not like what's actually gonna happen. So I just have to keep that in mind. Second thing I might do is I most likely will apply for jobs once I feel confident in my ability to be a software engineer. Which, as you can see, it's not an actual specific date, which most likely will mean that I'm probably gonna go full time right after. I'm not gonna even do an internship. I'm probably just gonna go straight full time. And the reason for that is because I know that if I get to a point where I'm able to learn to be a good software engineer, and actually solve problems using the tools that I have, there's no need for an internship. I can provide value. I can actually start building shit. I can start solving your problems. So I'll the way in which I'll do that without any internship experience, from what I can think about, is by what I said before, building more and more complex systems. So I'll start off with this trading strategy. Right now, I have like very it's pretty complex for me at least. I have several different classes all connecting, communicating with each other. Um, it's pretty decent. I'm gonna create the front end for this application as well. I'm gonna try to make it as nice as possible, whatever. And then after I'm done with this, at least when I got the MVP of it done, then I'm gonna start contributing to open source projects and starting to understand all the different complex structures of everything. And this will be fine because I'll have a good understanding of system design and architecture, and also the low level shit as well. I'm gonna, for example, try to work with other languages other than Python. I'm gonna implement object-oriented design very nicely. And when I do stuff like that, that's when I'll be able to get more confident in my ability. Then I'll just keep working on more and more complex open source projects, because at the moment, like, there's no way in which I can work on a project that's just like solving my problems that's complex enough. Like, honestly, like, there's nothing that's solving my problems that's complex enough at the moment. So I might have to turn my problems more general. That could be a thing too, but that just requires a lot of ground up work. So what I think is probably much better is to contribute to open source projects. That's like my only thought at the moment, to just keep contributing to open source projects, come up with a good set of a good list of portfolios of things that you've contributed to, and that's how you can show that you provide value. Because in the end, that's all you're going to be doing in the job, right? Like, you're not going to be recreating shit from scratch, especially as a junior software engineer. You're going to be adding things on top of it. So the timeline of that most likely will be September. I was initially thinking of doing an internship in the summer, applying to like FANG and shit. Realistically, I don't know if it's gonna happen. Like, I might apply, but like, I don't know if it's gonna happen. It's not me. I don't want to do it. I personally would only do it just because it gives me like a foot through the door, it pays, and it gives you that brand. Like, that's the only reason. Other than that, it's not me. I would not do it. I'd rather just focus my energies into becoming a better engineer. And I learned my lesson from this internship, that when I don't do things that don't feel like me, it doesn't end up well. So I'd rather just like do shit that I feel like personally believe in, you know? And that's it. That's the plan. The short-term plan in the future is I'm gonna be, by being a good software engineer, just a good engineer in general. When I keep saying software engineer, I just mean being able to like solve software problems. I'll most likely come up with business ideas like on the spot. And whenever there is a business idea, I'll have the tools to finally implement it. And that's most likely what I saw myself doing anyways in the future. So I might as well just do it. I might as well create that foundation as much as I can right now. In terms of systems, last thing I'm going to say, that's what I'll be doing at the same time. So as I'll be learning software engineering, implementing it, I'll also on the side be finishing my MVS for sure. Probably create this whole overarching system that includes everything. But I really have to learn how to learn. I really have to finish these systems, bro. I really have to finish them. There's the alarm again. And now it's gone. That's it. Things are a little blurry right now. The only thing I'm certain of is the fact that I'm going to be dedicating a lot of time towards making myself a better engineer. I'm also going to spend a lot of time like reaching out to different people. I have a bunch of systems for that I'm implementing as soon as possible. But yeah, man, that's it. Talk to you possibly in April. Possibly earlier than that, but maybe in April, or probably if something else before crazy that happened. My plan was to make videos every like 8 weeks, maybe every month, I don't know. But realistically, I'm just gonna be grinding, bro. That's it.